Place Called Perfect, Chapter 5. Dreams of Ghostly Boys. After only 2 weeks in the town, the summer holidays were over, and Violet didn't like the idea of starting a new school or making new friends. She had already tried with some of the local children, but it hadn't worked out. Her mum was starting to embrace life in Perfect. She had taken Violet to a book club meeting to introduce her to some of her friends' children, who were having a mini book club meeting. Drinking tea and eating home-baked cakes, the children discussed Roald Dahl's James and the Giant Peach. Violet told them she hadn't read it, but loved some of his other books, like Fantastic Mr. Fox and BFG. "If you haven't read James and the Giant Peach, then I'm afraid you can't take part in the discussion, Violet," one of the children had stated. For the rest of the evening, Violet sat silently, listening to them discuss the characterization of Ant Sponge. At the end, she left red-faced and angry. "How did you get on, Violet, dear?" her mother asked as they walked the tree-lined avenue towards home. "Terrible, Mum," Violet replied. "I wasn't allowed to talk." "Of course not, Violet. You hadn't read the book," her mother sighed. "Did you enjoy the evening? Don't you think they're very nice?" "Too nice," Violet snapped, remembering how each child had smiled and done whatever the adults told them. Her mother wouldn't listen. "I'm sick of it, Violet. Too nice? What does that mean? You really have to start making an effort. You're embarrassing me in front of the other mums." "Mums? When did her mum ever use a word like mum? She'd normally say mam or mammy, but never mum." In her old life, Rose Brown didn't bake, and she burned every dinner she ever made. She didn't do housework and always told Violet that a woman's work wasn't in the home. She worked hard and was usually back even later than Eugene in the evenings. In this town, she was different. It had started with sorting out odd socks. By the second week, she'd joined loads of committees and had begun calling everyone dear. Every day she got up early and made breakfast for the family. Once she'd said goodbye to Violet's dad and cleaned the house, she'd head out to meet her new friends, the ones whose children Violet had to pretend to like. Sometimes it was for book club, or cookery lessons, or even golf. In her short time in Perfect, Violet's mum had even become head of the town's baking committee. Rose was delighted. She'd smiled from ear to ear when she got the phone call and spent the rest of the night baking. Her cakes tasted nice, but that wasn't the point. Her old mother hated golf and would laugh at the idea of a book club. Now she was a perfectionist who shone like everyone else. Her dad had changed too, but he wasn't shiny at all. He'd become dull and lifeless. Lately he was always tired, and even his smile had faded. He looked older. In 2 weeks he'd aged 5 years. Violet had never seen her dad so sad, and maybe it was partly her fault. She still wasn't speaking to him. They used to talk about everything, but for the last 14 days and 5 hours she hadn't said a word to him. At first, he tried to carry on talking to her as usual, but by day 4 he'd realised he wasn't going to get a squeak out of her, and he'd given up too. Her parents were even different with each other. Before, whenever they were together, they were always hugging and kissing. Violet used to think it was really embarrassing, but now she wished they'd embarrass her, even just for a second. Instead, her mother tried to be the perfect housewife, and her dad was hardly ever home. Violet had no friends in Perfect, and it was beginning to feel like she had no parents either. Since they'd arrived, she'd spent most days in her room alone, only coming downstairs for dinner when her mother presented another one of her concoctions. The night before she started her new school, Violet overheard her parents in the kitchen as she climbed the stairs to bed. Her father's voice made her stop. "Rose," he sighed, sounding worried, "will you please put that away and sit down? I need to speak to you." "I can hear you perfectly well from where I'm standing," her mother replied. "I want to finish these buns." "Rose, please, now," her father almost shouted. Violet stiffened. She'd never heard him that angry before. "Just a minute, darling. I'm almost finished." "I thought you hated cooking," he snapped. "Really? Whatever made you think that? I love it. Since I've moved here, a whole new world has opened up." "I'm worried about this place, Rose." His voice softened. "What was that, darling?" Violet heard her dad sigh. Then a chair scraped the tiles, and heavy footsteps thudded across the kitchen. Violet froze. "Rose," her father said, stopping in the doorway. "Yes, darling?" "You know I love you, don't you?" He sounded lonely. "Of course, dear. Now, do you want sprinkles on your buns, or will I make my special icing? The ladies loved the icing last time round." Her father didn't reply. He left the kitchen and headed up the hall. Violet climbed the rest of the stairs as quietly as she could and slipped into her bedroom and jumped under her duvet. A few minutes later, her dad's figure appeared in the doorway. "Violet," he whispered, "are you awake?" She pulled the covers tight and pretended to be asleep. Her father tiptoed across the floor and sat gently on the edge of her bed. Her heart beat faster. He rubbed her hair. She wanted to sit up and hug him because she knew he was sad. But she couldn't let herself. He was the one who had gotten them into this mess. "Violet," he whispered, his voice shaky. "I love you, pet." He bent down and kissed her forehead, then gently tucked in the edges of the duvet and slipped quietly from the room. She opened her eyes. What had gotten into her family? She was sad to see her dad so upset, but at least it meant he wasn't enjoying their new home either. And the more he didn't like it, the sooner they would move back to their old town. Violet lay awake for ages. She was nervous about starting her new school the next day and couldn't sleep. Sometime later she heard her dad's heavy footsteps passing her door and heading downstairs. She was beginning to doze off as she listened for his return, when something hit the floor. Quickly she reached for her glasses on the bedside table, but found nothing. Throwing her arm over the side of the bed, she felt along the floor. "Can't sleep, can you?" Startled, Violet ducked back under the duvet. Someone laughed. It was that same laugh, the one she'd heard before. "Why are you hiding under your covers? Sure you can't see me anyway?" Violet pulled the duvet down a little to peer out. The room was fuzzy. There was a black shadow moving in the far corner. Terrified, she ducked back under the covers. "What do you want?" she squealed, her voice muffled by the sheets. "I want all your money and as many sweets as you can give me, or the doll gets it." "I haven't got a doll, and I don't know where to get sweets," she quivered. The boy laughed again. It was definitely a boy. I'm only messing. Oh, they're coming. He sounded panicked. I have to go. Footsteps ran to the side of the bed. The intruder seemed to bend down and pick something up from the floor. Here are your specs. Enjoy school tomorrow. An object landed lightly on the covers, and she reached out and felt her glasses. Quickly, she pushed them on and switched on the bedside lamp. The room was empty. Her heart pounded. Was she going mad? Maybe the sun was affecting her more than the others. She lay back down and pulled the duvet over her head, managing to fall asleep a little later, her dreams full of ghostly boys. And that's the end of chapter 5.